I'll get this figured out some year. John, here you there, SDH AM. How you doing? It is a really cool day to be discussing stuff because of what happened yesterday at Atlanta Stadium. And we're going to get into a lot of the post game after that. Here's the rundown for the morning. We are officially in a no dilly, no dally zone. 10 o'clock half hour, it's going to be KCD, and we're going to find out where she be and what's on her mind, especially when it comes to this World Championship and the trophy that folks are chasing. 9:30, bottom of the hour, Lauren Koontz, the president and CEO of the YMCA of Metro Atlanta, is going to be joining us because they have a new documentary out, and we're going to talk about their legacy when it comes to letting the sport grow and the early influences therein when it comes to the Metro Atlanta area and how the Y's rubbed off on folks ever since basically the mid-'60s. And so batting leadoff, that means at opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. They start your day with the most important stories of the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. That means we go to Bart Keeler. And the reason that we have Bart early is because Bart's hopping on a plane and he's going to avoid the tropical depression, which is Invest 91L, I believe, according to our friends at the Weather Channel. Get out of here, man.
When I looked yesterday, and I've been told reliably from locals it could change, but when I looked yesterday, Seattle is not supposed to be rainy while I'm there, which may or may not be a true Seattle experience that I'll have or not. I think if you go to Seattle, you expect rain and cold and vampires. So I don't know if I'll be getting that. But yes, John, I will be departing for Seattle within the next 24 hours, ready to go cheer on the U.S. men's national team.
Yes, and like I said, I'm staring at the Big 55, and I'm looking at that Invest that's in the Gulf, and I'm like, all right, make sure that everybody can get out of here and get in here when it comes to the beautiful game. So you were in the building yesterday, and it was a hell of a show. And I don't know what feedback has been when it comes to your social medias and things like that. You have pictures to prove that you were inside the building. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke. Because I'm sure that there are going to be like 140,000 people who are going to sit there and say, yeah, I was at that game, But you were there yesterday, and moments like what happened yesterday are why tournaments exist, why there are no easy games, and why allegedly, possibly, probably, maybe Alexander Sefrin ought to rethink sound bites from a couple of months ago.
Who? Yeah, John, yesterday was a great day for our city. I just want to put that out there first. I think that Atlanta really showed how awesome it can be and how great of a host it is. There were more Cabo Verde fans than I knew existed in real life. I was like, wait, where'd y'all come from? And they were well represented inside that stadium. Yeah. Among, a lot of Spanish supporters.
Oh, they were, and the Cape Verdeans were loud, brother. I mean, they were
loud. They were fun exiting the stadium, especially. They were celebrating all the way out, and that has also been a great, I think just a great example of why the sport, specifically this tournament, is so cool, because it does give you opportunities like that to see either in person or watch on television. But regardless, that was magic from Cabo Verde and the whole team. Because, I mean, look, Spain, you can say what you will and what you want about Spain, and maybe probably should have possibly put the round thing in the square thing, but they didn't. They didn't do that.
No.
You know who did, John? The U.S. men's national team. They did it 4 times.
Absolutely true. And we will be discussing them here in just a little bit, because that is your field trip. And, you look
at trip, John. Business.
That's absolutely true. Permission slips and everything have been drawn in place. Yesterday, you got to see on a couple of different fronts where Cabo Verde is concerned. Steven Moreira, we've known him to be a certain certifiable pain in the you-know-what from his time with Columbus Crew. So he knew the building. He knew what to expect.
He made sure he dropped that line.
Yeah, he did. I've been in here 3 times, and it's a fun place to play. And you have Pico Lopez, who is a star center back in the Irish League, and this was not, dudes that weren't even household names in their own household that were showing up here for Cabo Verde, and they had a defensive game plan that was very disciplined. They were ready to defend for a full 90 minutes. They were happy sitting deep, and basically made an incredibly frustrating day for Spain to function when Oyarzabal doesn't even touch the Oyarzabal for the first 30 minutes. First time ever in the modern era that you've had someone not touch a ball as a part of an offensive scheme for the first 30 minutes of a match, I think, since 1966. And yes, they did finally work Oyarzabal into the offense, but they clamped down, and you found out how many minutes Lamine Yamal was good for, 20 for the beginning. De La Fuente's got some answers. He's got some questions to go with the answers that he got. It was a defensive masterclass by Bubista yesterday. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like for folks that may not dig pitching duels when it comes to baseball, it was a 1-0 game. It's scoreless through 7. You got to see a building turn on a heavy favorite. All the neutrals were there. Yeah, I want to see Lamine Yamal. But as the game went along, you saw all the neutrals turn in that building, and it would get louder and louder for Cabo Verde as it went. It was a fun exercise to gauge what was going on in that building with Spain and Cabo Verde yesterday.
Well, I think it was, again, the magic of the tournament and the fact that people saw the heroic effort that a whole team was putting in. Every player on the team, starters, subs, we're all committed to it. And I think as a human, you can watch that and go, wow, that's really awesome. But as a sports fan, you understand what's really going on and how, again, just how committed they were, how fervent they were to the idea of defending and not allowing Spain to score.
What do you think? And for philosophical, this is a philosophical question. A lot of people poo-pooed teams 33 through 48. How much of a reminder was yesterday? I mean, can you even quantify what yesterday was in a soccer sense? I asked Jason, and he couldn't. I mean, Pico Lopez said, "Yeah, it's cool and everything, but we didn't score." So, I mean, that's how disappointed Cabo Verde was in this process. Can you even quantify what this would be like in athletic theater? Can you even think about what this might even resemble?
Ah, man.
Because I think it's bigger
it's so hard.
Bigger than a 16 versus a 1. I think it's bigger than when Virginia got beaten in the tournament. I think it's bigger than that.
Well, I think one thing we want to make sure of is to give Cabo Verde their credit, because they did qualify by winning their group in African qualification, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not a something to scoff at, because that is an incredibly hard qualification process that a lot of good teams, Nigeria, don't get out of. So I think that I do want to kind of say that is that they I don't know if they were necessarily the beneficiaries of the expanded tournament. But regardless, it is very similar to a 116, a 215 type beat, but when you look at it from the soccer lens, it's hard because you don't have a 0-0 draw, the defensive effort that you do. And so many times when we see these 116 seeds, it's some future CPA getting hot for 17 threes. That wasn't what happened here. You saw a 40-year-old goalkeeper, getting hot and having the game of his life. So I don't know. There are similarities, but I think that's what makes the sport so special and unique. Is that this 0-0 draw, thanks to a goalkeeper standing on his head. I mean, even if you want to go hockey wise, that's not something that you're going to get in hockey, right? You're not going to get a 0-0 scoreline for a lot of reasons. But yeah, you're going to have a goaltender stand on his head, but you're not going to get a scoreless result. And so that's why this is so special and so unique. So to try to compare it, yes, there is a comparison, but at the end of the day, as you mentioned in the quote, Hey, we didn't score, we didn't win. It's only 1 point.
Yeah,
You still got a lot of work to do in the next 2 games.
that is true. And I think that, Jason had said when I've got the sheet to prove it. Jason said that he thought Cabo Verde was going to get out of group. So really,
I think that's a very astute pick. I mean, they could be third very easily.
Yeah,
they could be second very easily. I still, I'm gonna not fully say, they're winning the group. I don't think that's
no.
the conclusion you draw, because we watched the other game and that wasn't exactly brilliance either. So, I still think Spain is the favorites. But if you're Cabo Verde, you look at Uruguay, you look at Saudi Arabia, and you go,
yeah,
I don't know, man. They look very beatable to me.
yeah. I kind of sit there and go, yeah, I can kind of see that one. We can get into Tunisia if you wish. I can save it for later, or we can go into the men's national team. Your call.
What do we want to talk about with Tunisia? Let's get into that for a second.
They blow out their coach after a 5-1 loss. Apparently, possibly, allegedly, there was an altercation at the hotel. There are reports out of Tunisia. Once again, this is has to be confirmed and collaborated, that the coach's son got into an altercation with a fan and a member of team security after the match was over. And then you have just apparently the team selection is being torn to shreds from pillar to post. There are so many things that were wrong, and then you end up with the coach being dismissed after one match in group, 5-1 loss to Sweden, and then wasting no time, they bring in the 3 buttons down Hervé Renard, and apparently he's coming in the door. He's like, let's rock and roll on this. So you might have Hervé Renard on the touchline now taking over for Tunisia after the first match of the group stage.
I mean, that's all well and good for Hervé Renard. If anyone, look, you could be delusional about your team, about your country, all that. That's great. We do that plenty of times here with the U.S. men's national team. But yes, 5-1 looks bad. Sweden executed at a very high rate. Tunisia also played terribly. I'm not an expert on Tunisian football, John. I'm not sure that there's a player that magically or two that magically makes them not 5-1 losers in the first game.
Right.
I don't know if there were starters or subs that maybe should have been subs or starters that would have made this somehow magically not 5-1. But when you look at what happened in the Japan-Netherlands match, is the new coach fixing your team? I don't think so. But, disciplinary issues are a little different. And if your head coach's son is trying to have a go at team staff and security, that's a problem. But, regardless, I think Tunisia is trying to take it's only the coach's fault that we're here. No. Y'all got your butts handed to you because you don't have a good soccer team. That happens.
Yeah. And like I said, it was the team selection is being just absolutely put in the shredder in file 13 by pretty much any writer that is paying attention to Tunisian football.
Yeah. I mean, good for them. I've seen that too. But again, I'm going, okay, so who's making it not 5-1?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the as we begin to transition to the men's national team.
There you go.
That's something we talk about all the time, right? Like your player pool is your player pool. And we love the US. We have some great players here, but we understand that there's a cap on what our players are expectedly able to do, right?
Yeah.
Beyond a miraculous moment. What about Tunisia's what about that player pool is saying we should have not lost 5-1? Now, 5-1 also could be a fluke in the sense that Sweden scored some goals that not fluky, but look, they finished the goals that they created, right? Yeah, they could have probably scored some more, but they had a good finishing rate in that game. That's not something you're always going to see.
Yeah.
That's fair. But like again, 5-1, what's reducing that gap? Who's reducing that gap?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah. So it will be an interesting magnifying glass looking at Tunisia going forward. Now that you're properly hydrating, to discuss the men's national team as they go from Los Angeles to Seattle, and you go from Atlanta to Seattle for the Soccer for US POD. See, I mentioned it on the air. You can write it off. What are you looking at in this match? What are you bringing forward from match number 1 to match number 2? What are your thought points that you're looking at here?
Yeah. I think number 1, you just look at the fact that we scored 4 goals. And I know that's simplistic, but when you look at the next opponent, John, who is a team that doesn't like to give up goals, that's important because we did find ways to score goals in kind of 4 different ways, which is good. You're going to need that against a defensively resolute team in Australia. Yes, your opening goal is an own goal. I don't care. It's the World Cup. I don't care how the ball goes in the back of the net, John. That don't matter one bit to me. If we win the World Cup on an own goal, I'm celebrating the hell out of that. So I don't care how it goes in the back of the net. But it was born out of really good individual play, but also team combinations and those societies that we talk about on the field. That's great to see. Second goal is some really good direct team play that finishes off with a great cross by your star player and a fantastic finish by your informed striker. Third goal is just, man, your informed striker being really dang good. I mean, the turn, the cutback, the finish, really dang good. And then your fourth goal is, I mean, I think they counted 20-some passes in the sequence.
26, yeah.
Of unlocking, and look, Paraguay at that point in time was not exactly defensively compact. They weren't, bus upon bus.
No.
Which Australia probably will be, but that is what you need to unlock the bus upon bus upon bus that Australia is probably going to put in front of you. Yeah. And that is the positive that you look at that from that game and go, okay, we scored 4 goals. We're able to do that. And like I said, Spain didn't score 4 goals against a defensively resolute team.
No.
And I don't think this is a crazy thing to say. Pretty sure Spain has some more attacking talent than the U.S. does. Slightly more,
Yeah, thank you.
So that is the hope as you go into the Australia game, which is always going to be tricky because while I think they are the least talented team of the group, they are the team that plays the type of way that is the hardest to beat.
And what we saw in the 4-1 match was literally where you had defensively, your counter pressing was creating opportunities. I mean, literally, you look at this match and you're sitting there going, okay, everything that was in the boxes was checked off. Counter pressure, creating opportunities, finishing, passing connections, making sure that everything was the way. Literally, I think everything that you had on the grocery list going into this first match, looking for keys to success, grocery list, you got to go down every aisle and find everything in the store that you were looking for.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, from a tactics standpoint, yes, but then from a player standpoint, Christian Pulisic on his game, got that for 45 minutes. Weston McKennie on his game, got that. Even Malik Tillman, who is very steady and consistent, but sometimes that consistency is not as effective in a game. Super effective in that game, right?
Yep.
Like even that, right? Serginho Dest balling out. Like those types of things are even on that list. I mean, but you mentioned the counter press. That is the one thing that is the most, I think, irreplicable.
Yeah.
Irreplicable. Thank you.
Yeah. My mom, the English.
In this game against Australia, because the likelihood we're going to have a lot of counter pressing opportunities against Australia is very low. Now, they do exist. And something that Turkey did a lot against Australia was catch them out when they had pushed forward a little bit. So those are opportunities. Turkey just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. With another
that is going to be somewhat there for the U.S. But what we also saw from the U.S. was, and it happened mostly later in the halves, but I mean, there were a good 15 minutes toward the end of the first half, I think, Tim Ream's like freaking at the top of the 18, the other 18. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, he and Chris and Freeman were really high up. And we had all 11. I mean, it was a hockey power play. The goalie's been pulled. Dude. Like, we had that many guys inside the attacking zone. And it's a little concerning because we saw what Australia can do on the counter. Like, their ability to hit a pass to two really insanely talented and fast dudes is scary. But one thing that the high line, it's not a high defensive line, it's a high attacking line. And it just smothers teams and doesn't allow them a lot of chances to find that outlet pass. And again, that's something Paraguay didn't really find either. And they're apt to do that as well. So there aren't too many similarities. So that's where it is a little bit scary as you look at Australia. But there are going to be moments where you're going to have an opportunity to counter Australia. And I think those are when you might find your best luck. But most of the game is going to have to be played in their half, picking locks, finding ways to get in between those teams.
So what are the plans for the Outlaws as they go in their various forms and cities from one end of the planet to the other? Is there an itinerary for you folks?
There is an itinerary. So we will be at a place called the Harbor Steps, which is, John, if you can imagine, near the harbor. And we will have, it's free and open to anyone. We start at 9 o'clock on match day. We also have a night before event there starting at 6 o'clock on Thursday. Free for anyone to attend. You can buy food and drink there. There's a bunch of pubs and everything at that area. Think of it as, I don't know if you've been to Kansas City for the Power and Light District. It's very similar to that. And so we'll be there. Then we're marching into the stadium. Well, some people will march. I don't know, find a way. My knee is still in recovery mode. But
you're gonna saunter instead of march? Okay,
I'm going to, I might find if someone can, one of those rickshaw guys, maybe give me a ride to the stadium. We'll see. Weirdly though, John, and I'm going to bring this full circle back to Atlanta. Seattle has this thing called public transit too. And you can get on it and it will take you places in the city and you don't have to drive or walk. Atlanta's showed out pretty well the other day or yesterday too. So weird how that works.
Absolutely true. So please, if you would, sir, avoid all of the meteorological challenges that seem to be heading this way. Have a fun business trip. Notice I said business trip. That way you can write it off and everything's fine. And yes, I have put in my very, very demure shopping list with you if you have 13 seconds to find the material when you are in Seattle.
I'll be around, John. So text me that list and I'll be around especially Thursday. I get in. I'll have all day Thursday to do the fun stuff in Seattle.
Sweet.
I'm bringing you back the whole fish from Pike's Place Market, right? That's what you wanted?
No. Yeah, exactly. That's going to stink up the joint. Be safe, my friend. Go have fun. And then we'll catch you on the flip side and talk about match day 2 for the USMNT. Be safe, my friend. We'll see you soon.
All right. Yes, sir. Y'all have fun.
There he goes. Bart Keeler, everybody. Bart's gone. And so Bart is heading out west, and he will be there for match number 2 in the group. And we will go over the schedule for tomorrow, in addition to what happened yesterday, in the final half hour to kind of lean you into what you're going to be seeing. And today is the heavyweight day of heavyweight days, because you're going to get Mbappe, Haaland, Messi back to back to back. They're not playing each other, mind you. It's not a three-way dance, but you're going to see France playing first. Then you're going to have Norway. Then you're going to have Argentina. Then you've got the late night. So that's what you're staring at with those matchups today. And since we're here, we'll just go ahead and break it down a little bit. So as it was mentioned by Lionel Scaloni, Dibu Martinez set to play, Julian Alvarez set to play. So no worries on that front if you are a fan of the Albiceleste. 3 o'clock Eastern, France a minus 217 against Senegal. Draws a plus 359. Senegal's a plus 600. 6 o'clock. Iraq and Norway. Iraq is a plus 1,300. Draws a plus 600. And the Erling Haaland led Norwegian side as a minus 455. No surprise there. 9 o'clock at Arrowhead in Kansas City, or Jihad. It'll be Kansas City Stadium when they walk in. Argentina minus 227. Draws a plus 359. And the Proud Sons of Lawrence, Kansas, otherwise known as the Algerian national team, they are a plus 700. Midnight Eastern time, Austria and Jordan. Austria, big favorite at a minus 278. Draws a plus 425. Jordan is a plus 800. And just to get you into the venues so you know what's going on, Group I, France and Senegal, is at the Meadowlands on all of your favorite networks. 6 o'clock in Foxborough. It is Iraq and Norway in Group I, so they are grouped together. Then, once again, Kansas City Stadium, Arrowhead, Jihad, what have you. Argentina and Algeria at 9 o'clock, and then midnight out at Levi's. It is Austria and Jordan at San Francisco Bay Area Stadium. By the way, if you haven't seen it, one of the best marketing gigs ever. One of the best marketing gigs ever was done by the folks at Levi's. Because remember, you're supposed to cover everything that is not attached to a sponsorship, that is attached to the cup that the world is chasing. So what did Levi's do? They did cover the logos, but they did use form-fitting tarps. They also changed their logo on their Instagram account to reflect that change. So it is a gray Levi's logo, no lettering, on the header on their Instagram account. It is form-fitting tarps in and around the stadium in Santa Clara. So Levi's really outdid themselves, not necessarily with their jeans product, but with their marketing aspects and their understanding of, all right, you can't have that logo being seen. Okay, fine. We're going to put tarps up, and they're going to just be form-fitting tarps, and you'll be able to still see that it is our logo. It is still the Levi's logo with the three sharks' teeth on the edges, but it's just covered, no name on it, and it's gray. So Levi's understood the assignment. Whoever came up with that idea in their marketing department or in their crossover conversations with marketing and day-to-day operations of the facilities. So I guess they're facilities management folks, the marketing team, and social media. Levi's understood the assignment. They really did. They understood the assignment on three fronts, and they are blowing up because of their tongue-in-cheek approach to the rules of engagement that have been put forth by the organizers of this tournament. So very, very cool stuff there. Yeah, Levi's got it, and that was a hoot. Absolutely a hoot. Morning, David. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ropes. Morning, Katie Weaver. And morning to all of you who are accessing us however you are doing so. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that I might have missed. Typhon Bernard, welcome back. We are. He wants us to discuss Vojinha. Through pretty much in the second hour, we may drift into it with Kacey White, but we do have sound from Vojinha. We have sound from CJ Dos Santos, one of the understudies on that roster of 26, who plays for San Diego FC and came into the team on basically just on the hop. So we get his feedback about Vojinha. You will hear from Pico Lopez in a one-on-one that we had with him. And who am I missing? I think that's everybody. No, Steven Moreira from Columbus Crew. So we got a lot of Cabo Verde sound that they're going to be getting into. We got your highlights from the matches, and we'll be getting into that in the final half hour, if not talking about a little bit with KCD at 10 o'clock and drifting in and out with Kacey, and then talking about it in full in the final half hour, getting you through what happened yesterday in earnest and getting you ready once again. We mentioned your juice boxes for today, where you get to see the big stars one match at a time. And then we'll get into that, and we'll see if the juice boxes have changed. We'll also, in the final half hour, get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We did mention Hervé Renard is now official as your new manager for Tunisia. That's going to be interesting. And then all of the other news that's out there. We do have some player shifting and some player interest. and stuff to get into on a couple of different fronts this morning. Tony Rudiger and Real Madrid, Spurs and Sandro Tonali. There's plenty to get into, and we'll get into it this morning once again with everything that's going on. And all we would ask, oh, wow, okay, this is interesting. All the talk about Tim Payne and how he has become a beloved figure in South American social media circles. Cesar Luis Merlo is reporting that he is now Olympia's new reinforcement. Agreement fully closed with the footballer and with Wellington Phoenix. The club is expected to make it official in the next few hours. So Tim Payne has gone from having the least amount of social media followers to now going to Olympia from Wellington Phoenix. That's from Cesar Luis Merlo. Man, what the tournament can do for you. But yeah, we are gonna hear from Vojinha in hour number 2 specifically. All right, let me see if there's anybody else that I missed. Yes, and Typhoon, like I said, I broke out. I found my Cabo Verde jersey. I knew I had one. I couldn't remember where I put it, but I found it. It was because the boss moved it from one set of hangers to the other, and so that was it's like, okay, wait a second, what's not normal from this setup? And then I look in the closet and I see that there are some things that had been adjusted, and this was one of those. So yeah, I found my Cabo Verde jersey, and absolutely was there. Oh, Greg, good morning. Have not heard. You telling me wants to know about the rumors of Pulisic to NYCFC, legit or no? Since it's City Football Group, who knows? But Greg, you telling me, and we can workshop this in the final half hour as a part you might have to remind me. This is the first I've heard of something like this. He'd have to be extricated from his contract in Serie A, and then he would have to, which City Football Group I'm sure would do, but then you've got to figure out all of the other elements that are attached to it, meaning players, GAM, TAM, DP, when does the contract kick in, those kinds of things. So this is the first I've heard of it, but we can workshop it and we can do the token searches and see if there's if there are any journalists that have seen anything. And Greg, if you have, go ahead and put it in the Twitch pitch, and like I said, we can walk through it and figure it out. But you mentioning it is the first that I've seen it. So we'll see what it brings to the table and go from there. But I have not heard anything about this. I haven't. So, but like I said, since it is in fact the silliest of seasons, that anything is humanly possible. Do not put it past anyone on anything when it comes to rumors this time of year, because you're in the off season for European leagues. MLS kind of has to pay attention, because after this season is over in the calendar year of 26, remember, you've got the sprint season. Okay, you saw it. Okay, that's interesting. You probably have better LinkedIn links to follows and things like that. Okay, so Pulisic. See, now you got me. NYCFC. Okay, so Pulisic, NYCFC. Gazzetta. Okay, so Gazzetta dello Sport. Okay, so this is Gazzetta. Report from Gazzetta claims City Football Group and Roma both made recent transfer offers for Christian Pulisic. City Football Group trying to bring him to NYCFC. Same report indicates Milan wants to keep him, but. Okay, so, and is everyone circling back? Okay, so everyone is circling back to Gazzetta. And let's see, Ruben Amorim has apparently now made the front page to AC Milan because he's wearing the scarf. We don't have anything involving a contract with him with a pin hovering over said contract and a smile on his face, but I imagine that's kind of where we're at. So, all right. So Gazzetta is mentioning Amorim as the new devil, but in their actual Twitters, they're not really mentioning anything. So the New York Post, And this is what happens, I guess, when I am locked inside a building. So let's see. New York Post, Colin Ward, City Football Group. Now is this? And this is once again. Okay, so everyone is circling back to the Gazetta report. Long been rumored to make a splash because of Dylan Butler Estates opening in 27. So Gazetta alleges. So Gazetta alleges AS Roma also submitted the inquiry. Milan owner Jerry Cardinal and Zlatan have completely different ideas and want to rally even closer around their star. Pulisic joined 3 seasons ago. Ibrahimovic obviously now working with Fox for the tournament. Not reported by anyone else. Okay, here's what New York Post says. But once again, you're looking at Gazetta and you're referencing this off of the New York Post article. New York Post, for what it's worth, take the information at your own peril. Move has not been reported by anyone else and seems unlikely. Pulisic is worth 40,000 euro. 40,000? That's 40 million, I think. It's got to be 40 million because they're missing 3 zeros. According to Transfermarkt, and is at the peak of his powers. NYC's record transfer fee is $8.5 million for Nico Fernandez and Alexandru Mitrice. So that would be the other part in this. Transfer fee, if Transfermarkt has him at 40 million euro, then you're kind of sitting there and you're going, okay. So it would have to be something that would fit financially. City Football Group wouldn't flinch in trying to pick him up, but you're looking at something that you would have a transfer fee attached, and you're kind of going, so we'll see what happens. So Christian Pulisic, we'll keep an eye on it, but once again, it's City Football Group, and we will find out. All right, this one's fun, and I'm going to bring in Lauren here, and I'm going to disclose something that she does not know about me as a person. And just to let you know, the YMCA now has their story out from the days back in the mid-'60s. The Y in youth soccer in the Atlanta area dates back to 67 in the Atlanta Chiefs, something has been near and dear to Jason's heart. The Chiefs partnered with the YMCA of Metro Atlanta, and they were ambassadors from the absolute beginning. So now we bring in Lauren Koontz, and we find out the rest of the story. This is where that Paul Harvey drop would happen. And man, Lauren has a multi-screen. She's got multi-camera going. This is kind of cool. So let me bring Lauren in, and it's going to be a fun conversation breaking everything down involving the Y, meaning the Y and as in the YMCA. And we will start our conversation with Lauren about what the Y does and what the Y has done here in the city of Atlanta and beyond. So let me bring in Lauren. Lauren, you got your ears on. I can hear you. I can hear you clicking. You can't hear me. That's weird. I can hear your office. I hear the office. So tell you what, let me duck you back into the green room. So let's do that. I can hear you though. So I'm going to start shooting messages. So we'll find out what's going on here. So I can hear Lauren, but she couldn't hear me. So all right. So let me once again. I'm gonna pass notes in class, and I'm gonna go. Let's see. So I heard. Let's see. Here's what I'm gonna do. So apparently she just couldn't hear me. All right. So, but yeah, like I said, I heard Lauren fine. We're going to have a conversation about the Y and the YMCA and their impact about what's going on. And by the way, they've got a really cool documentary that's out there, and it has to do with a lot of the history that's attached. And for me to be able to see Ray Bloomfield of the Atlanta Chiefs and to see Bob Hope, whom we've known for media relations here in the city of Atlanta for a long time. It was cool to see them as a part of this whole dynamic. So, all right. It's let's see. It's Let's see. So we're going to troubleshoot this as we go. Uh, sorry. I know this is. All right. So, like I said, I'm gonna keep an eye on Lauren, and we'll troubleshoot this. And like I said, we've got Lauren till the top of the hour, and we're gonna talk about the YMCA. And like I said, I'm troubleshooting this as we go. So me and technology. Okay. Let's see. Saw the other angle in the office. All right. So let's try that. So it was interesting to see the pieces of this documentary. It's up on their YouTube channel. And so it will be really cool to see what's going on. All right. So let's see how things are with Lauren and the Wi-Fi
Hi,
in the
can you
building.
hear me?
There she is.
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Why is it 2026 and I'm still having technology problems? I have switched to my phone.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
no, it's all good.
Apologies.
No, it's all good. I'm glad we got you.
Thank you.
I wanted to discuss, as a child of DeKalb County, this was what I wanted to say. I'm a child of DeKalb County. And when you had in this documentary, and as a part of this story, when you had Merck on walking through Lakeside High School, I'm like, yep, I know those halls. Class of 19 something something. That's me. So I'm a Lakeside kid. I'm a DeKalb County kid. So I grew up with the DeKalb County Y. If I could get my upper plate to work this morning. What has it been like for you to see the Y continue its place that has been going 60 years plus? What's it been? She froze. Of course she froze. Yeah, so we're gonna be dealing with this stuff too.
So I'm back. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep, you're good.
It's
And froze again. So all right. So hang on. Tell you what. Go make sure you're on your Wi-Fi. Let's see. So are you on the in-house Wi-Fi?
I am.
Okay, cool. That's a good start. I'm trying to see. Then we got to see Safari. What the browser is, because I think there's a specific browser that's attached. So, and
Okay.
here we go. And with the freezing, unbelievable. And that's all right. So it's she's wandering outside.
I'm now wandering through the office trying to find a spot. So it has been amazing. So we
Mm-hmm. This is crazy. Let me try something here. Next time she pops in, I'm going to try something. So 10 good minutes with Lauren Koontz. I will take it. All right. So hang on just a second. All right. So, all right. Hit me.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can.
I don't know what's going on. It's been amazing. So we really didn't how unique and amazing this story was. So 1967, the Atlanta Chiefs, first professional soccer team, comes to Atlanta. And the story is so amazing because so many people didn't really even know what soccer was. And so the Atlanta Chiefs, these players all came to the DeKalb Family YMCA is what it was called at the time. And basically they came to teach the kids so they could build a fan base. And all of a sudden in 1967, 68, it goes from no one playing soccer to within 6 years, 8,000 kids playing soccer in DeKalb County, and really just changing the entire landscape for youth sports, not just in Atlanta, but because the Y is all over the country. All these other Ys around the country thought, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing game ever. And it just spread like wildfire across the country. And so really, when you think about, the Y is known for inventing basketball. We're known for inventing volleyball. We're actually known maybe for also inventing Father's Day. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the rise or the birth of youth soccer in the US started at the Decatur YMCA in 1967, 68. So just to have this kind of full circle moment, to have all of these fans come to Atlanta for the World Cup and to be able to talk to people like you who experienced that entire phenomenon during that time, and kind of grew up with it being really normal. It's just crazy. It's so cool. It's so fun, and it's really just an amazing story. And we're really proud to just be a part of it.
So, what has it been like for you since I think 2012 was your first years that you were attached to the YMCA? Yeah.
Yes.
What's it been like for you, say, over the last 15 years to see it grow in that particular sphere and learn about the history and see it continue to grow and evolve? What's it been like for you specifically in this 15-year window, in addition to what's happened since the mid-60s?
Well, I think what's really unique is I grew up in a small town in South Georgia and we didn't have a Y. So my very first experience with the Y is here in Atlanta, where my kids, both at 3 years old, learned to play soccer at the YMCA. And I think that's a story that's just really out there for so many families. And, I always kind of joke, I didn't know who the executive director of that local YMCA was. I certainly didn't know who the CEO was. I knew Kyle, the sports director, the guy that was out there making sure that the fields were ready. So my entire personal journey of coming to the YMCA all starts with my daughter at 3 years old, basically like picking daisies and running after a ball in the wrong direction, right? But she ended up getting on a team that stayed together for 10 years. And those girls are still in touch with one another. They went to different schools, they went on to different colleges. But I think that's the power of soccer. That's the power of a story like this, is that it brought people together. It brought kids together. It brought families together. And I think, what I love about soccer is any kid can get out there and just play. It just takes a ball and a pair of shoes. And, we're an organization that offers financial assistance to any kid who needs it. So the Y is always going to be a place that you can pick up the game. It's always going to be a place that everyone's welcome. I like to say that the Y should be the most naturally diverse place in a community. And that's what I love to see on the soccer field. When I go out to any of our soccer fields, you're looking at really just a representation of what Metro Atlanta looks like on those fields. And you're watching kids really, learn how to win gracefully, learn how to lose gracefully, learn how to play as a team. It's just an amazing thing. And I think so much of what made the story of soccer here in Atlanta and at the Y and that rise of youth soccer in the US, what made it so amazing really comes back to that sense of community that happens on the field. And so it's like, while it's grown and while it's exploded, in many ways, the beauty of it, it's still really the same as it was when it started back in 1967, 68 at the Decatur Family Y.
President and CEO of YMCA Atlanta, Lauren Koontz, hanging out with us. I do have a question about Southeast Georgia. I will finish with that because
Sure.
my normal high school golden retriever brain kicks in when it's like, oh, Southeast Georgia. And so I will ask that question as we go. When it comes to the Y and its mission, is there something that is a common misconception that can be corrected here with you talking to me as a part of the education about the Y and what it does?
You are amazing to ask that. I think that most everybody thinks of the Y as a place where they work out, right? Or maybe where they learn to swim or where their child learned to play soccer. And I think they think that, you know, our membership fees kind of cover everything. Our membership fees or program fees, honestly, are what turn on the lights, pay our staff, and run the programs. But as I said, we don't turn anyone away from a YMCA for inability to pay, because we believe every child, every family, every senior should have that place of belonging and connection and community. And so most people don't think of us as a nonprofit, but that's exactly what we are. We're always out there trying to partner to expand access, trying to raise money so that every kid can be a part of this. So I think, just sharing that, the Y is kind of that constant in the community that I think a lot of people maybe take for granted, but we're out here working every single day to make sure that it will always be a place for everyone. It will always be a place that every kid has access, whether it's in a pool, it's on a field, it's on a court. It's just, I believe the Y makes community stronger, and we want everyone to be a part of it.
So when you see the light come on for a child or a young adult or a teenager, they come walking in the door for the first time, they might be a little shy about surroundings and integrating and all that kind of stuff. When you see the light come on about inclusion and it's okay to be who you are, what's that like for you and for the YMCA infrastructure to see that kind of a moment where the Y gets to rub off on someone and they get to carry that idea forward as they grow?
I think what's beautiful about the Y is that our mission to build healthy mind, body, and spirit has always fundamentally been the same. But what we must do is adapt and evolve as an organization to be a relevant community organization. And our values of caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility, when I see that light go on and I see someone connect with someone who maybe they don't know from school, maybe they wouldn't know them from their neighborhood, but on a field, everybody gets, it is a level playing field and it is a meritocracy, and you get out there and you're proving, why are you going to pass the ball to me? How are we going to build trust? How are we going to build teamwork? And I think I get goosebumps just thinking about it. I think it's really the purest form for kids and for other people to really figure out how to meet people, spend time with people that may be nothing like you. But I think the beauty is the more that we can have opportunities like that, maybe the less division we see in our communities, in our world, because it really always comes back to we're so much more alike than we are different. And a field, and kids just don't care about that kind of stuff. They just want to get out there and play. They don't care about race. They don't care about religion. They don't care about what zip code you're from. They just want to kick the ball with each other. And if we could live that way, I think it would be a much better place. So it gives me a lot of hope. It gives me a lot of joy to see that light and to see that happen for kids, and know that really they're carrying kind of what we should all aspire to be like and look like when they're out there.
How nimble does the Y have to be these days in the current landscape? And I'm talking everything from infrastructure to economics. How nimble do you have to be to function these days?
Well, extremely nimble. Like I said, I mean, if it's a constant, how, we, like any organization, we want to pay our staff competitively. We want people that want to stay with the Y forever. We want to invest in our facilities. We want to invest in programs. We want to invent the next sport, right? But we also need to provide that financial assistance. So it's kind of a triangle. The Y has always had that mind, body, spirit triangle, but the triangle of being nimble and adaptable as it relates to kind of how we think about our financials are, how much are we going to invest in financial assistance and scholarships? How much are we going to invest in our own people? How much are we going to invest in our facilities and our pools and our fields? It's never going to be a perfect equation. And so we always have to be thinking about that. And I would just say part of being a Y is being responsive to community needs. Not going, way, way back, but the Y's been in Atlanta now for almost 170 years. We're celebrating 175 years in the US. If we were still doing the same things we were doing in 1900, 1950, or maybe even 5 years ago, we wouldn't be relevant. And so I think the key for the Y is to always listen and to ask. We cannot assume that we know what communities want and need. We have to, with full humility, say, how can we show up? How can we serve? And I think that's what will keep the organization relevant. But yeah, we have to be nimble. We do a lot of things. We play in a lot of spaces. And so it requires, again, keeping your ear to the ground and being willing to say, gosh, I might not have all the answers, but I need to listen and figure out how we can show up and be the best partner in a community we can be.
Okay, so then as a child of St. Simon's, was it Glen Academy, Brunswick, or MCA?
Glen Academy, which sounds like a private school, but is one of the oldest public schools in the state. Started in like the late 1700s.
1780.
Our mascot was the Holy Terrors, which
The
is
Red
so very
Terror.
like 1800s.
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually a cheerleader for every sport there was, and imagine how many cheers you had to come up with the words Holy Terrors. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but you learn it.
Yep.
And I did cheer for soccer as well.
The Red Terrors of Glenn Academy. I know
That's
it.
right.
I know exactly where that campus is, and it's always been fun to go down and see what's going on. Lauren, I can't thank you enough for hopping on. I know that you're like one of the busiest people on this or any other planet in our solar system, and thanks for letting us know about the documentary, letting us know about history and future and present and all of the tenses that are involved with the Y. Thanks for dropping by.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the story and putting up with my technology issues. You're the best.
It's all good. And so
Okay.
Lauren's going to go and go have the rest of her day, maybe a cup of coffee, all the things. So be good. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Lauren Koontz, Metro Atlanta YMCA, Grand Exalted Poobah. She is president and CEO of the Metro Atlanta Y. So very, very cool stuff there. All right. It is after the top of the hour. And it is now that time on a Tuesday. And we get to find out where on the planet Kacey D is. And we're going to find out where she is and figure out what's going on. And if she is, I will say this as we bring Kacey D in. You
Yes.
are in practically every time zone known to mankind talking about this tournament.
It's amazing what you can do with Zoom and a computer, right? So that has definitely helped. I haven't had to travel for it, which is great.
So you graciously get to spend the time in this busy universe of yours with us Tuesdays at 10 because it is Kacey D Where You Be, and she'd be at home for another month or so while she's looking at what's going on at the World Cup. What topic would you like to discuss first? Like I said, it's an open book because we've had a week to look at stuff. What topic do you want to hit first?
We have to talk about the US men.
Okay.
I'm still so excited about that performance. So we got to start there.
All right. So then, as I continue to spill my drink on my Cabo Verde jersey, it seemed like it was about as perfect a performance as you could see, and literally you could take it a phase at a time, whether it's offense, defense, what have you. They tried to press the opponent out of the building. Counter press was working like you hit the ignition on the car and the car turns over and everything starts and you're fine. And the offense was hitting the big switch for me early on was really something that exposed Paraguay and got them on their heels. So we can talk about pressure offensively and hitting the big switch and having them on their heels. You can talk about the counter press, creating opportunities. Where do you want to go?
God, it's so hard. You've mentioned so many things, and I understand why, because there hasn't been a more comprehensive performance that we've seen from the United States in recent weeks, months, years. I mean, people are talking about this being the best performance of all time, full stop.
Whoa.
I know, people are doing it.
Yeah.
I will start with the lesser talked about tactical part that I like, because I'm going to go there, and then we can talk about the rest.
There you go.
Early on in the first half, and it continued throughout the game, but mostly in the first half, was Weston McKennie getting out a little bit wider and making these underlapping runs and having interchange with Serginho Dest.
Mm-hmm.
That tactical nuance really threw Paraguay off early on. It was pulling out the outside backs. They didn't really know whether to stay central, whether to come. If you stay central, Dest is open to come at you 1v1. If you decide to come wide, now McKinney's going through the channel between the center back and the outside back. It was just a great rotation and phase of play that was really hard for Paraguay. So I got really excited about that. But take all the tactics away. And this is something I'm going to say like once a year because I never say that. The commitment to do what it takes to sprint, to run, to repress, to counter press, to adapt, to tackle. Those pieces were there in spades. And I really believe that's what made the difference.
All right. And to the point that you mentioned, there were moments where as your wingers were going further wide, it gave opportunity for the inside channels to not just like left, center, right, but literally the underlapping runs. Those channels created more space with everyone wide, and the center of the attack staying true to its position. And you're seeing center backs and fullbacks, you're seeing them come into all of that space. There were points where Tim Ream is literally part of the 11 or the 10 pushing forward, and he's engaged as a center back, almost like he's a pseudo, like a pseudo 8. I mean, this was some stuff where if you're Paraguay, your head's on a swivel and you don't know which end is up.
The fluidity was there, the interchange. And there's a couple of reasons for that. It happened a lot off the right side because of the way the United States builds. Alex Freeman stays a little bit lower than an Anthony Robinson, who gets higher into the attack. So whether it was Dest wide or McKinney wide and Dest central, there were so many different spaces that were being occupied by players that it was hard for Paraguay to adjust. The second part of what you said about Tim Ream being higher and the back line being higher, what that does is it condenses space for the counter press. When you condense space, not only when you have the ball, but when you're about to lose the ball, the lines are tighter. You don't have to cover as much ground. So you tactically are in a good spot to repress, and then you add the willingness that we saw from the United States to do it, and it's a great combination.
See, this is where you need that whiteboard of yours.
I know. I said I would try to get one. Sorry.
Well, but I mean, but once again, I think with the metallics or the whiteboard or whatever, it's like it gives you, seeing all of these folks going forward. It's not something that I think we were used to when it comes to the attack for the United States. And there were times where, you're using the touchline as the additional defender. I mean, all of those stereotypic things we talk about when it comes to successful pressing. There's the line that I use a lot is in the Rocky movie with Apollo, where Mickey is trying to tell Rocky what to do. And he's like, work on the inside, don't let that ant breathe. And that's what you saw defensively in this. It's like, I don't think there was a wrong step that was taken. And if there was, it was quickly thought back to where, all right, let's get back quickly and reset, and everything was cool. They weren't letting them breathe at all.
They weren't. What was impressive to me as well, John, was I expected the second half to not be the same as the first. Mm-hmm. It is so hard to replicate that first half performance. Yeah. And while I don't think it was exactly the same, the intensity still to dominate the ball, to repress, to counter press right away was still there. And that is what impressed me the most about this game, was a close level of consistency to have a comprehensive performance across 90 plus minutes. Because a lot of times you'll see teams come out in the first half, use the adrenaline, we're on home soil, we are also talented, so put all of that together, but can you do it in the second half? And they did. That's also my question now. Can they do it for a second game? And what different challenges will Australia show, and how will they adapt? I thought all of those questions were answered versus Paraguay, how they started, how they adapted, how they impressed on the game. Now it's how consistent is that who we are? And that's what I'm excited to see.
Yep. Kacey D hanging out with us, talking U.S. men's national team to start. What was it like for you to see a 26 pass performance that led to a goal?
Oh, I love that. I just got so happy that you asked that. It was lovely. And it wasn't a rush 26 passes. It was changing a bit of the point, starting it over, some incisive passing, breaking lines, and then a wonderful finish. Seeing that type of performance in the build is another piece of what was good about what the U.S. did. A lot of times when teams counter press effectively or they press really well, maybe they're getting opportunities just based off that when their other team is in expansive shape. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case with that last goal. And so to see that sequence was really nice.
How hard is it to do a Trivela?
It's hard. I just laugh because we have all these terms for everything now. Like when you said that, I'm like, when did a brace become a brace? Olympico become an Olympico? I'm like, we have all these terms. So I'm getting used to it still.
Mm-hmm. For those that may not know, the Trivela was what Serginho Dest did in that final goal, hitting it with the outside of his foot and creating the screwball effect where it looks like it's going to go wide, and then all of a sudden it curves right since you're striking it with the outside of the right foot. Outside of the right foot, you brush across it, it does the screwball, it goes into the net. And to have just that kind of idea about what you want to do, it speaks to obviously imagination. But that's why I asked about how difficult something like that is when you are trying to have body control, speed, and accuracy to get it into a certain point.
Technically, just in general, it's hard. I remember working with my dad when I was really young. He played at a professional level, and we were just knocking the ball around. He's like, okay, we're going to start with the outside of your foot. Like, where does the ball need to be able to hit it with the outside of your foot? Do it with your left foot too, Kacey. Like, and I would work on the outside of my foot. And I finally got to a point where it was quite natural, and I was fine with it. And then I got into coaching, and I realized how many young players do not do it, and it's like actually awkward for players to do. So it is a technically very hard thing to do. Then you add in the fact that you're making a finishing choice while doing it under pressure in a stadium filled with people at the World Cup. I mean, unbelievable technique, but that's what happens when you prepare. In moments of pressure, you don't have to think. That is in his tool set, and he was able to complete that because he has worked on it for years and years when it didn't matter. And now when it matters, it comes out.
I want to ask about Malik Tillman in the midfield and the attack. I want to ask about Flo Balogun and what we saw up top, because you have literally, it's like going into the ice cream. You're going into the ice cream chamber in the grocery store. It's like, no, I want this one today. I want this one today. No, I want that. So midfield or forward, where you want to go next?
Midfield.
Go for it. All right. So midfield, you saw a lot of we mentioned the interchangeable pieces. We saw a lot of the connection that was there in the midfield to help necessitate the attack. And so you're having to do two things at once. And in this match specifically, you didn't have to cover Tim Ream a whole lot. You got to focus on things offensively. And the reason I include Tim Ream into this is because if you have wingers or your other center back going forward in this setup, Ream can be exposed if you got folks going too far, but then you have your midfielders who can double back and help you out in that aspect. It takes a lot of, technical, wherewithal in your head to sit there and go, okay, so-and-so's going forward. I've got to help out back here. I can't go as much forward as I'm used to. So just the interchangeability that we saw in the attack, and once again, knowing that Ream is going to be there, that you've got to protect him as well on defense.
I'm going to put a disclaimer out there because I can't talk about every player because I don't think there was one bad performance in this game. Like, there really wasn't. I thought Des started a little slow, and then he was awesome. Like, after that, like, he had a few missed touches, like, the World Cup, the beginning. But I can't talk about everyone, but everyone had such an amazing performance. I want to point out Tyler Adams.
Right.
He is a huge reason why Tim Ream is protected. Chris Richards is also a reason. Like, everyone was doing their job, but Tyler Adams covered so much ground, and he covered from inside to outside as well. So if he needed to get in the outside channel and make a tackle, he did that. He was covering all that ground. What that also did is it allowed Tillman and McKennie to play with a lot of freedom. I think there's been question marks around Tillman a little bit on the defensive side of the ball of like, what was that going to look like if Tyler Adams had to be more of a single pivot and cover all of that ground rather than playing with two in there? And what that showed, what Tyler Adams did, was it brought out the best in Tillman, in my opinion, in that game. He was able to be a little bit more creative. He was higher up the field. And I thought that was one of his better performances that we've seen from him and being able to dictate some play.
Now, up top, you had Flo Balogun as a part of the approach up top. We know that Christian Pulisic is going to be active there. How does it feel when somebody kicks you in the calf?
Not great. Like, someone just rakes you from behind. It's not a good feeling.
And right now, the notion is that that Christian Pulisic was pulled out after 45 because of that kick to the calf, and then trying to reorient your running so that muscle isn't sitting there and barking at you the entire time. That's been the focus, sitting at the final 45 and then getting ready for the matchup coming up here in Seattle. When you look at the forward grouping, Ricardo Pepi came in late, and he was kind of, tasked to make sure just everything was locked down, take advantage of opportunities when they're there. When you look at the forward grouping, what stuck to your head in match one?
Balogun is a finisher. That's ultimately what separates him, and we saw it in this game. And if you're Mauricio Pochettino, you are wanting your goal scorer, your finisher, to get that goal. Now, to get two, and to get two in the way that he did, I don't know if anyone would have necessarily dreamt up those types of goals. I thought him having those moments is going to be great for him going forward. Nines operate on that secret sauce. They feel good. They feel confident. They have the swagger. Like, you want your nine to feel that way. And so that, I think, is really good for the United States. I loved the confidence that he showed in being able to have those finishes. I didn't think in his send-off game he was particularly confident in and around goal and wasn't touching the ball a lot. Now, it's Germany versus Paraguay. Like, we have to point that out. Yeah. But he's not thinking that. He's thinking, I got a brace at the World Cup. Like, let's go. Bring on anybody. And that side of the game, the mental side of the game, is so important for him. I loved his work rate, his back to goal play, but it's ultimately the finishing that's going to separate him and what the United States needs.
So what kind of a match are you anticipating with Australia?
What we saw from Australia was a low block and counterattack system against Turkey. Mm-hmm. I expect that against the United States. If I watch what the United States did against Paraguay, I'm a little concerned because Paraguay was forced back into a lower block. I think forced back into it. They wanted to play a bit lower, but also forced by the United States. Now, Australia, though, has the counterattacking presence, the athleticism, the pace, the runners above the ball to be more dangerous than what we saw from Paraguay. So I do believe we'll see a similar tactical setup in a lot of ways, but they're going to be much more dangerous going forward against us. So our countermeasures, what we look like behind the ball defensively if we do lose it, is important. And I brought up the counter pressing for a reason. And the consistency, we have to repress well. If we don't, Australia can break out very quickly.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on those things since they're in the KCD spot shadow. That means we have to pay attention to those kinds of things.
Exactly.
First match yesterday here in Atlanta, and there was some poo-pooing internationally. It's reported. It hasn't been corroborated, but it's been reported that there has been some poo-pooing about the expanded field. 33 through 48, it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be, it's not worth, bringing in all these extra teams because it's not just going to be an exciting watch. First match out of the blocks at Atlanta Stadium pretty much put that theory and shoved it into file 13 when you got to see a very disciplined defensive effort from Cabo Verde because, and we've talked about it, Steven Moreira from Columbus Crew is a part of this. Pico Lopez, who is one of the top center backs in the Irish League, is a part of this. And when you've got a keeper that is just out of his mind, literally, Jorginho looked like he was flying, to take the F1 reference from Sonny Hayes. When you have all of that come together and you frustrate Spain the way that you did, it was a masterclass by Bubista, what we saw yesterday, and Spain's got some stuff to think about now.
They certainly do. That's what the World Cup is about. I love seeing results like that. The low block is so frustrating, but it's so effective against teams. And we can do what they did against Spain. It's unbelievable. And I always talk about this, and we've had these conversations in the past of if you can stay in the game the first 15 to 20 minutes, you gain confidence. You start to see the patterns of play that your opponent is putting into action. And then you start to feel good and you start to stay in there. But you have to worry about fatigue. You have to still battle. You have to make individual plays. You have to play as a team. Like, there's still so much that the opposition has to do to keep a team like Spain off the board. And they were able to do that. The goalkeeper having an amazing appearance also doesn't hurt. So that's really exciting. For Spain, I was watching the New Zealand game last night, New Zealand, Iran.
Yep.
And New Zealand scored 2 wonderful team goals. Like, move the ball, get the ball, move the ball, get the ball, and just continued runs. Now, Iran wasn't sitting in a low block, but I kept thinking this is what Spain needed to do more, not so much individual play. You have to kind of have that combination play to break down a block, and they just couldn't figure it out. I don't think it's panic time for them. They've done this before. Yeah. But I do think that they'll go into the locker room and go, okay, what do we have to do next to make sure that this isn't a blueprint for how people play against us?
And Cabo Verde only committed 1 foul. One foul, and it was 10 yards inside their defensive half, 10 yards away from center line, and it literally was a grab. It was a grab, and it was a yellow. So literally one foul, yellow card, that's it.
The amount of patience that takes when a team like Spain is like tiki-taka moving the ball, and like the buy-in to say, hey, this is where we are. We're playing against a giant, and we don't have to frustrate them by fouling. We can frustrate them by just keeping them in front of us and limiting chances. The mental fortitude and patience that takes is so commendable. And I honestly don't know how they did it. I think it's pretty amazing what we saw.
And yeah, it was fun to be in that building. We had, I think it was just under 68,000. The Cabo Verde fans, they came, and I was talking to some of them on my way into the building, and there is a large Cabo Verde immigrant population in Massachusetts, in the Boston area. And that's where they came from. They came from Boston down to be a part of everything. You did have some come from overseas to be a part of this. They were loud in their sections. Most of the folks and most of the neutrals were there to see Spain. They were there to see Lamine Yamal. They were there to see all the shiny bits. But then as the game got later and later and later, and Virginia is making the saves over the crossbar, the one that hits the crossbar, I think from Ferran Torres, kicks back out, and then Oyarzabal tries to head it in, and Virginia pushes it up over the bar. When you've got moments like that, you heard the crowd turn. And the Spanish fans, they were still there for Spain, but the neutrals that were there, you start rooting for that underdog in the building. And just to hear that turn of emotion and everybody getting behind the dog, that was a fun part of this too.
I feel that in myself too when I watch those types of games, because you have so much respect for countries that have the history that they do, that perform at the highest level. But once it gets to a certain minute in the game, and you're like, this team's earned this, actually. Now I'm kind of hoping that they pull this out. And I'm such an empathetic watcher. Like, when I watch games, I'm like, ooh, I'd hate for a goal to go in right now. They've played so well. And so I totally understand that vibe and how that could happen.
Today, we have 4 matches on the board. In the 3 matches, the first 3, you got Mbappe in the first one. You got Haaland in the second one. And you got some dude named Messi in the third one.
That's all we got today?
Yeah, I know. And then the late night game out in it's like Austria and Jordan, I think, is the game at midnight Eastern. What so far through most of match week 1 has stuck out to you? Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. What else has stuck out to you so far?
Gosh, it's that every game has had a story. I know that sounds obvious, but I think I have missed a game and a half. I feel like I've been very committed, and I rewatched. It was that Australia late game. I had to rewatch it the next morning because it was too late.
Yeah.
And then I missed a half of the game yesterday just because of life.
You're not allowed to run errands.
I kind of forget that people are working right now. Like, I'm like, why are all these people not watching games? Oh, they're working. Like, they're working all day. So it's been nice to be able to do it. But every game has had a little bit different of a storyline, and I've enjoyed that. And even the 0-0 game was great. And there were lots of opportunities. One of the things that and probably because it's fresh in my mind, that I loved the Iran-New Zealand game last night. I thought 4 great goals, back and forth, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal. And it was just so much fun. And the discrepancy in FIFA rankings between the two as well. So you bring up the part about the expanded format. You know, Iran was, I think they were saying they were 20th, if I'm not mistaken. And New Zealand was 85th. And it's a 2-2 game. Like, it was just, that to me really epitomizes like that anything can happen in this World Cup. And that's what's so fun, I think, about the group stage.
Yeah, you end up with Qatar scoring at 93-59 to secure an equalizer.
Exactly.
3rd latest goal, I think, in history of the tournament. In the group stage to secure a point. You get Netherlands and Japan. That was another one of those that was a back and forth. And I know Japan has been on some folks' radars, maybe one of those dark horses and everything. And it was funny in the opening round in the Brazil match, where folks were sitting there and saying in the Brazil-Morocco match, oh, Brazil, yeah, they're kind of flying below the radar. And I'm like, what? They're number 6 in the world. What are you talking about?
That's so funny. I will say, though, going into the game, I thought Morocco was going to win that game before it started, just because I thought, not that I don't think Brazil can go far in the tournament. I just thought it might kind of like take a little time. That's a tough first game, especially with what Morocco showed in 2022. Yeah. But I also at the same time was like, okay, let's see if it was a fluke. Let's see how good Morocco is. But they're doing so well through the youth national teams, winning a World Cup at the youth national team level, 4th place finish at the senior level. And they came out flying. Credit to Brazil to adapt, because it looked like Morocco was going to take a 2 or 3-0 lead in the first 20 minutes. Right. That was a really fun game, though. I'm excited to watch both of them throughout the rest of the tournament.
How many more live shots do you have today?
One more.
Okay.
Only one. I got you and one more. I'm doing Dallas, which is down, so that'll be fun.
Okay, yeah, because you get the chance to sit there and run smack to everybody back in Texas.
Exactly. But like the hardest part of this is that I literally sit there for like a 3.5-4 minute hit, just hoping the dogs don't make noise. Like it is so stressful.
So you're still dog sitting Owen's buddy?
Just till today, and then I'm down to one dog again. I actually later today will be down to just Owen. So
okay, well, but us. We don't care if Owen and his buddy are sitting there and they're flying around in the background.
You can probably hear they were playing for like 30 seconds. So I was like, "What is going on?" And then they stopped. So
yeah, mommy looked over at the left hand side, and Owen was like, "Okay."
That literally, Owen knows the look. So.
Yeah, Owen knows that. As always, it's great to catch up with you, and great to see that. And by the way, if you don't follow Kacey on her socials, Kacey D. White on the Instagram or the IG, whatever the kids call it, she's posting like all these pictures of all these double boxes where she's in and getting to talk about everything all around the planet. So it's fun to see you working your way and sitting there and saying, okay, I'm here, all these different places. It's really cool to see that you're making that kind of an inroad when it comes to everything here in the tournament.
Thank you. It's been fun. Major League Soccer's gotten me a lot of those opportunities with different Fox affiliates around the country, and the times are crazy because of being on the East Coast and all of that. But it's been great, and then also just speaking to some old friends and things that I've done in the past. So covering a World Cup in any capacity is such a privilege, and I've really enjoyed it.
And Kirk Reynolds is our resident wizard in getting all of the stuff.
He's amazing.
His spreadsheet, I'm sure, is massive. Okay, go continue hydrating. We got matches this afternoon. When's your Dallas live shot?
It is, I believe, 12:15. They said 17, but 12:15 Eastern.
Okay, 12:15 Eastern. And so for those of you that have cable here, you can watch on the FOX affiliates, and you can go into the high numbers in the 4400s and see Kacey's live shot at 12:15 Eastern. We will catch up with you next week to talk things. USA will have played again. We'll talk about Australia, and we'll talk about match 3 in the group stage coming up. It's always great to see you, my friend, and give Owen a big hug and a treat.
I will. Sounds good. Have a good Tuesday.
All right, you too. There goes Kacey D. Where she be? She be at home, and she be on Fox 4 in Dallas coming up in a little under 2 hours. So that is Kacey D, and it's always great to catch up with her on our Tuesdays. Morning, Dell. And Dell was going back and forth with me yesterday, and as they were trying to come in, and hopefully the experience in Section 217 was cool. And I don't know how long Dell is here, but glad that he made the trek. And how many more days do we have? Okay, so we have on the board, I think, the last match in the beginning of the Medio in picks of the week is Ghana and Panama. So we're still on the roll when it comes to picks of the week in the Discord. Jarrett, for those of you who might be interested, Jarrett is the king of the Discord access. So reach out to Jarrett on socials, and if you're not in the Discord in general, you can reach out to Jarrett and he'll put you in the Discord if you want to be a part of picks of the week. We are in the Medio, and we are getting you ready for week number 2 of the Medio after Ghana and Panama. So that'll be a quick turn for week number 2 in the Medio coming up in a couple days. All right, so your hydration break brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores, and 2 locations, Johns Creek and in Cumberland Parkway, Cobb Parkway in the Cumberland section of Marietta. Local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores, great friends with us here at SDH. Glad to be able to go and hang out with them at their various locations and do live shows. and have them be a part of everything as we continue to grow here in 2026. So everyone, if you would please, if you can do so safely, we're not going to take the full 3 minutes, but nevertheless, we are going to go ahead and hydrate. But what we will do as a part of the hydration break is we will get you into some of the sound from yesterday, and we're going to spend a lot of time with Cabo Verde. I know this will surprise you, but yesterday in the mix zone, Virginia, man of the match. And we'll go through the numbers here in a bit as to how incredible defensively it was for Cabo Verde. And we had, Kacey discuss what it's like to have that kind of discipline to defend. So we'll get into that in a bit. But here's Virginia after the match in the mix zone discussing, and he was holding his trophy, presented by the beer of their the representative beer. He was holding his trophy. I'd love to know, does he have to have the trophy back, or does he get to take that with him back on the bus? Anyway, here's Virginia mix zone after the match.
I feel very, very proud. For me, it's an honor to represent my country. We do this with passion, with love, because we are from a small country with little bit condition, and our qualification was very difficult also with the group with Cameroon, Libya and Cameroon. But we know if we work and if we follow the plan of the coach, we had a great chance to qualify. Today the dream come true. We compete against Spain, and it's one of the best national teams in the world. And we are very, very happy, very proud of all of the players, all the people from Cabo Verde.
Virginia, after the match, you can catch the full part of that interview from the mix zone on SDH's socials. So you can go back and listen to that as we go. Speaking of the mix zone, one of the first ones out was Steven Moreira. We know Steven from his time with Columbus Crew. And so here is part of the conversation that the assembled media got to have with Steven Moreira after the match and the goalless draw. Moreira, a part of that back line that kept Spain in check for a full 90 plus.
Everything. Listen, I don't realize for the moment what we did against Spain. I'm just proud of my country, of my teammates, of my family. That's it.
Can you already believe what just happened?
Yeah, all dream. Honestly, and when we wake up this morning, the vibes was good, no pressure, just play free. We did a really good game with our heart. We fight until the end, and our goalkeeper was doing a crazy game too, so I'm very proud. Yeah.
Nesse momento, Cabo Verde está na festa. Mensagem para o povo de Cabo Verde.
Steven Moreira after the match. And then we had to wait, understandably so. The Cabo Verde locker room got loud, and I know that shocked you. But there was, through the mix zone, it took an hour after the match had completed and the initial round of interviews. The Spain team, they made their way very, very quickly through the mix zone, a couple of players at a time with escorts, and they might have been shaking a hand or two just to say hi to local journalists, but that was about it. Then it was an hour, and then you started seeing the Cabo Verde players working their way through. And one of those was Pico Lopez. And if you missed the article this morning, it's at soccerdownhere.net, detailing his path to this particular point and what happened yesterday. So here is our conversation with Pico Lopez in the mix zone as they were trying to file out literally 2 hours after the match was over. So here's Pico Lopez with SDH.
Has it sunk in yet?
Yeah, I think it has there in the dressing room. I think after the game it was just still a bit surreal, the feeling, and it's hard because it's a point, it's a clean sheet, like we haven't scored, but it's something to be proud of as well.
The discipline that you guys had defensively, only the one foul, and it was insane how you guys kept them in check. What was it like to be in that sync today?
Yeah, look, I suppose it was 100% focus on the game. We knew we couldn't switch off for a moment because they'd punish us. They're a great team. They had so much of the ball, but we knew like that if we were organised defensively, we could frustrate them. Another day, we were hoping to catch some of the counter attack, but I suppose it was difficult for that.
Now, has your phone blown up officially?
Yeah, it's just a lot of messages there from people back home, and I'll try to get back to everybody. Like I say, it's a really proud moment for me and my family, like, and to have the support that I've had, it really means the most.
What does this mean, honestly, from 30,000 feet or anything? What does this mean, do you think, going forward?
Look, it just goes to show you, like we can mix it with some of the best teams in the world. Will it be difficult? And was it difficult? Yes, 100%. It was, like, but we knew this is the World Cup. The biggest teams, the best teams are here, like, and we're here as well. So we have to be here to compete. We'll enjoy today, but the most important thing now is to recover and focus on Uruguay.
Pico Lopez after the match, and one more interview from the Cabo Verde mix zone. You'll also hear the voice of Jonathan Jackson. CJ Dos Santos, and we've talked about CJ. CJ literally, let me get the date. I want to find the date. CJ activated his one-time international switch, and he changed his citizenship designation to Cabo Verde. And this was May the 19th was when San Diego FC made the call to CJ Dos Santos to back up Vojinha. Literally, first senior call-up after making the FIFA-authorized switch, joined him for the March 26 international window. They announced the World Cup roster. So he has his first national team camp in March, named to the roster in May, and is a part of now the Cabo Verde 26-man. Born in the U.S., Cape Verdean father, Portuguese mother. Represented the U.S. at the youth level, 2017 FIFA U17 World Cup, 2019 FIFA U20 World Cup. Last season with San Diego FC, 10 clean sheets and 30 starts. Entering as one of the four nations making their debut, Cabo Verde, Curacao, Jordan, and Uzbekistan in Group H. So CJ flips from the U.S. to Cabo Verde in March. Named to the team in May to learn from Vojinha. Here is our conversation with CJ Dos Santos about what it's like for him to be a part of this and learn. Nothing like having your first international camp in March. You make the international switch. One camp in March, named the team in May, have the moment like you did at Atlanta Stadium yesterday. So here is the conversation that we had with CJ Dos Santos as he was trying to make his way to the buses so they could get back to the hotel.
Going to the next history and it really puts us really takes us in the right direction, taking this tournament with the right foot forward. So it's going to put us in the right direction for sure.
Now tell me, how does it feel going from winning your group in qualification to qualify and then coming here holding the number 2 country in the world to a goalless draw, and then having thousands of people, not just inside and outside, but all over the world, and bringing the vibes to it?
No, you can't help but love the passion that you feel from everywhere around the world. The Cape Verdeans within the country, here in the United States, and Portugal, Holland, Luxembourg, France, everywhere around the world, you can't help but feel that alegria, that joy, and that passion from everybody across the world.
Okay, and tell me about your legend, Vojinha. That performance today.
He was always a legend, but now he was always a legend for this club and for me personally, as he's an amazing human being, and he's been so helpful with me in my transition coming to this team.
Love it.
And this just solidifies his place in football lore and in World Cup history.
Awesome, man. Got something, John?
Yeah, CJ, I was just going to ask you on the Vojinha talk. I mean, you get to have someone like that who's 39 repeating, and legend in the country and all this kind of stuff, to have that kind of impact and influence. I mean, you're coming in kind of hot.
Yeah.
And to be able to learn and to calm down and get integrated into that, what was that like to have that kind of calm from him when you're getting integrated?
You know, having such an experienced goalkeeper such as him, you know, one of the captains of the team, he eludes that experience, he eludes that sort of confidence and that experience within the team and within his own personal experiences. And when you have players like him in this group, you can't help but be successful.
Has this day sunk in yet?
It's kind of weird. Like the whole experience hadn't sunk in until walking out with the team, and then you can see the stands, you can see all the fans everywhere around. So that part was still very, very surreal to me. And now just letting everything sink in and just enjoying every moment.
So it gets to 4-0. Ref hits the whistle. What's running through your mind when you understand what was happening out there today?
I mean, my first thought was to run over to Vozinha and just to be able to have that moment with him, tell him how proud I was from him, and just how amazing of a moment it is and how much of an honor and a privilege it is to just be able to see it firsthand with the best seats in the house.
Cesar dos Santos learning alongside Vozinha and Cabo Verde. All right, so let's get into the numbers. We'll get into the other scores from yesterday, get you into the matchups from today, and we'll give you the rest of the news because we did mention with Bart, Hervé Renard now is taking over in Tunisia. We'll update that situation as well as to why Labrouche was told to please leave. Because like we had mentioned a couple of different things involving the why. We'll get into the why and we'll get into Hervé Renard, and there's some other news to get into this morning as well. So the numbers for this matchup. In this craziness, and Vozinha was listed at 8 saves. I call shenanigan on that. I mean, for me, it's probably 8 saves, and if you want to be real specific about it, it is 8 saves, handful of touches, all that kind of stuff. SofaScore had Vozinha at a 9.7. A 9.7. 7 saves. I'll dispute that. Goals prevented, basically 1.5, 1.45. Saves from inside the 18, 6 of the 7. Like I said, I'll say 8 saves. 3 high claims along the way. Defensively, 15 recoveries, had 1 clearance. He was 2 for 2 on his duels, by the way. 2 for 2 on his duels. Passing, 29 of 42 at 69%. 5 basic of 10 long balls, 5 of 14 passing in the opposition half. So basically, long balls being 10 of 23, 5 of 14. So he was 5 of 9 elsewhere with long balls. 5 of 9 long balls inside his own half. 24 of 28 inside his own half. 5 of 14 made it as long balls into the attacking half. Then the touches, and this was the number that stuck. 65 touches for Vozinha. They had him at 68 yesterday. 65 touches. Most for a keeper in World Cup history. 10 carries, total progression just under 36 meters. So that was Vozinha yesterday. Then, and let me see if I kept the numbers or if I got rid of them. So we're going to have to, I got rid of them. So we're going to have to do some math here. So we're going left to right. The back line, Sidney Lopez Cabral, who got the 1 foul and the 1 card, punched a 6.9. So defending, Cabral at left back, 9 defensive contributions, was 1 of 2 on tackles, 2 picks, 5 clears, 5 recoveries, 5 for 10 in his ground duels, and 0 for 1 in the air. So let's go 5 for 10 on the ground. And the funny thing was in these numbers that as dominant as Spain was in the air on duels. Cabo Verde was the opposite on the ground. And I would have thought it would have been flipped. But legitimately, ground duels went the way of Cabo Verde. Aerial duels went the way of Spain, which was strange when I was trying to process this. Dini Borges, second highest rating on the day, an 8.5 according to SofaScore. So Borges, not to be outdone, 18 contributions, 2 of 5 in tackles, 2 picks, 8 clearances, 3 recoveries, 3 blocked shots, and then 5 of 6 on his ground duels. He was 1 for 3 in the air, so 6 for 9 on his duels, period. And he had the one last man tackle, which was the foul and the yellow card. Pico Lopez, who we caught up with. Defending, the blue mark is just all the way to the right. So for Lopez, 16 contributions, 2 interceptions, 11 clearances for Pico Lopez, 3 blocked shots for Lopez, 1 recovery. And the funny thing here with Pico is he was 0 for 1 in the air, or 0 for 1 on the ground, 2 for 2 in the air. That was Pico Lopez's day. Steven Moreira, who you heard from over at right back, he had kind of a quiet day. Everybody was trying to go down the attacking right. Steven Moreira had it quiet. So Steven Moreira had 5 defensive contributions. He had 1 pick, 4 clears, 1 for 2 on his ground duels on the day. Yeah, like I said, everybody kind of stayed away from Herrera. So that was your starting back line. Total all of those numbers up. And the fact that Adham Muhammad only called the 1 foul, which is insane. Here's the combination of the starting back 4 for Cabo Verde. Moreira, Cabral, Lopez, Borges. You had 48 defensive contributions. You had 3 tackles, 7 interceptions. Sorry, I'm doing math here. 28 clearances. That's on me. So 28 clearances, 9 recoveries, 6 blocked shots, and then it was ground duels, 6 of 12, 6 of 13, 11 of 19 on your back line and your ground duels. 48 defensive contributions, 3 tackles, 1, 7 picks, 28 clearances, 9 recoveries, 11 of 19 when it came to the ground duels, 6 block shots. That was your back line of 4 and only committed 1 foul. That is insane to think about. 1 foul on all of that activity for your back 4, and one of the guys that had the foul call was your second highest rated guy on the afternoon with Dini Borges. Talked about it with KCD, about the discipline that you've got to have in that situation. It's crazy to think about that that's what the numbers were. Opta did a really cool thing, Opta support. And it was, so how did Cabo Verde do this? 25,000 pre-match simulations by Opta supercomputer. Spain was victorious 87.2% of the time. Cabo Verde got a draw 8.1% of the time. So basically, it was 91.9% of the time Spain was going to get points out of this on their own. It was going to be a Spain win. 87.2% of the time, Cabo Verde got a draw 8.1% of the time. 74% possession, 96.7% field tilt, according to Opta. And field tilt is basically, okay, where are we passing from and what is it, what does it look like? Cabo Verde had 15 passes the entire day in the attacking third of Spain. In the attacking third, 15 total passes because they were trying to go over the top most of the time and Spain's recovery would get it back there. 433 passes were completed by Spain in the attacking third. But if you look at the chart, and that means that's where the field tilt is, 433 out of 448. That means that, everything's happening on one side. The schematic drawn by Opta looked like someone had messed up trying to create a parenthesis, and so they kept doing it over and over again. Literally, you saw side to side. You saw the windshield wiper do this, go from left to right the entire time. The windshield wiper was working. If the windshield wiper was Vojinha, you saw left to right. A lot of arrows doing this. Very few passes inside the 18. 734 passes completed. But when it got to the arc, basically it was locked down. I mentioned Mikel Oyarzabal, first player to play the first 30 minutes of a World Cup match since 1966 without touching the ball even once. That's what you were looking at here. 65 place difference between the sides, biggest for any team that avoided defeat in a World Cup game. Rankings first published in 93. So that's what you were staring at. Numerically, anyway. Pedri got a 9, didn't do him any good. A couple of more statistics, by the way, in this one. 51 touches in the opposition box for Spain compared to 6. Shots inside the box, 16-2. Outside the box, 11-4. 27 total shots to 6. 7 on target compared to 1, and that was the header late. Much like Marc Cucurella, it ended up going a header into the ground and an easy grab for the keeper. 84 final third entries compared to 26. Passes in the final third, 388 of 443 for Spain. 16 of 35 completed for 46% by Cabo Verde. 19 long balls at 34%, 19 of 56. Long balls, 24 of 30 at 80%. 6 of 36 crosses completed by Spain. 7 saves for Vojinha. I'm sorry, that's more. 14 goal kicks on the day. 46 clearances compared to 7. 15 picks compared to 6. Spain obviously would have more recoveries because it would be cleared out and then they would get recycled chances. 55-49. Total tackles, 18-13 Cabo Verde. Ground duels, 31-21, the margin to Cabo Verde. 19 of 28 go to Spain in the air. So on the ground, 31 of 52 to Cabo Verde. In the air, 19 of 28. On the dribble, Cabo Verde, 4 of 11. On the dribble, Spain, 7 of 13. But they frustrated the hell out of them for a full 90 minutes. 84 sprints compared to 79. 10 fouls called on Spain compared to 1. 1. And Cabo Verde still ended up at 26% possession because of all the defending they had to do, running 3 kilometers more on the day than Spain, 106.1 to 103.1. So that's what you're getting into. And I'm still fonting up CJ Dos Santos for no good reason because I'm so locked into talking. So that's what you got from Cabo Verde. Literally, that is what you got. Taifan Bernard's dark horse is Norway. They're in match number 2 today. But yesterday, Like I said, and we have all these highlights, and I think they're just going to have to sit just because we got all this stuff to talk about. So yesterday, just to break through everything, first day since 1958 that you had all matches end in a draw. The Spain-Cabo Verde match, Belgium and Egypt, a 1-1 draw. Romelu Lukaku scores late, salvages a point in Seattle. Saudi Arabia, Uruguay. Uruguay scores with 10 to go by Araujo, and that was in Group H at Hard Rock, which is now Miami Stadium for 6 weeks. Iran, New Zealand, KCD, saw that one. It was out at SoFi late last night, 2-2 final. And it was Elijah Just with the goals on the board in the 7th and the 54th. Every time New Zealand had a lead, the Islamic Republic of Iran would come back. Just scores in the 7th. Razayan scores in the 32nd. Just scores in the 54th. Mohebi scores in the 64th. 2-2 draw by the time you were done. Standings. So since yesterday was Group G and Group H, with Group I and Group J happening today. Group G, everybody's at a point, but New Zealand and Iran have one more goal scored than Belgium and Egypt. New Zealand, Iran, Belgium, Egypt. That's your rundown in Group G. Everybody's at 1 point. Group H, Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, considering theirs was a 1-1 draw, are ahead of the game over Spain and Cabo Verde, but everybody's got a point. Match day 2 is going to be interesting as Cabo Verde heads to Miami to take on Uruguay at Hard Rock. And so today is Group I and Group J. Just to give you the idea, we'll recycle through and let you know. Let's see if the numbers have changed any. France a little bit. France, 3 o'clock. France a minus 217, draws a plus 359, Senegal's a plus 600. 6 o'clock in Gillette to Foxborough. Iraq a plus 1300, draws a plus 600, Norway's a minus 476. 9 o'clock, Arrowhead, Jihad, Kansas City. Argentina's a minus 227, draws a plus 359, Algeria is a plus 700. Midnight Eastern from Levi's, which is now San Francisco Bay Area, Santa Clara. Austria minus 278, Jordan a plus 409 on the draw, and a plus 800 for Jordan to win. So quadruple header today, 3, 6, 9, midnight. Favorites haven't changed their numbers a whole lot. The draws and the dogs have kind of a little bit since we've been on the air, but that's pretty much it. Dominant favorites, Mbappe in France, Holland and Norway, Messi, I don't know if you've heard of the guy, and Argentina against the Desert Foxes in the Desert Foxes of Lawrence, Kansas. Going up against Argentina at Arrowhead at 9 o'clock, and then at Levi's at midnight, it's Austria and Jordan. So that is that's the rundown of the juice boxes today. Now, let's get into Tunisia a little bit. It is officially official that Hervé Renard is the new man in charge. Officially, as of 6 hours ago while we were sleeping, kind of. Sabri Lamouchi fired after one match in. They announced, the Fed announced that he had been appointed until the end of the World Cup. So he's basically a fireman. Morocco 2018, first appearance since 98. Saudi Arabia got the stage win over eventual champions Argentina in 22. And we would also like to thank Hervé Renard and his Saudi Arabia side for injuring Jay Fortune. Coached France during the 23 Women's World Cup, got them to the quarters. Also coached Zambia and Ivory Coast, winning AFCON in 2012 and 2015. Sam Joseph on the Hervé Renard beat. Literally, termination of Lamouchi's contract, making him the first head coach to be fired just one game into a tournament. Out of management, Hervé Renard had since being sacked by Saudi Arabia back in April. Group games June 20, June 25 against Japan and the Netherlands. They've never progressed beyond the group stage. FTF added the agreement with Renard stipulates negotiations will take place after the tournament over a long-term collaboration in quotation marks. It's on their Instagram account, and it is a scally photo of Hervé Renard. Lamouchi had only been in charge for 5 months after replacing Sami Trabelsi, who left the team after they were eliminated on pens by Mali in the round of 16 in the AFCON last year. 54-year-old who'd previously managed Ivory Coast, Rennes, Forest, Cardiff, and Al Riyadh described the Sweden defeat as painful. Managers fired during a World Cup, strangely enough, both in Tunisia. Lamouchi after one match, and then Henrik Kasperzak in 98, Chabum Kun in 98, and Carlos Pereira for Saudi Arabia in 98, all 2 matches in. Lamouchi won just one of his 5 matches in charge, the friendly victory over Haiti in March. So that is that's the rundown on Hervé Renard. Hervé Renard in, he's a firefighter, and they're going to talk after the tournament. He is supposed to arrive, according to Tunisian sources, 3:30 this afternoon, Mexico time. So that would be like late afternoon our time. Direct flight connecting Paris to Monterrey. So it'd be like dinner time for us. Leading his first session today at 8 o'clock Mexico time. So by the time we go to bed, new technical staff, Renard, Wabi Khazri, Gilles Lefloche is your keeper coach. Trainers David Bariak and Nicolas Baudouin is your performance analyst. So that is that's the rundown of Hervé Renard. According to Tunis Al Khadra, and this is yesterday, a fight broke out at the end of the match between Sabri Lamouchi's son and a Tunisian supporter. Security intervened, reportedly struck the supporter who sustained minor injuries. According to Al Khadra, it should be noted the national team's coach's son travels with the official delegation without holding any position within the national team. Notably appears in official photos alongside the technical staff's been spotted on the field with players during training sessions without any official announcement from the federation mentioning his integration into the staff. So take that for what you wish. But Sabri Lamouchi out after one match from Tunisia. And the first call they made was to Hervé Renard. The Carthage Eagles now have a new man in charge for the tournament. So we'll see what happens there. And you have all of the Photoshop stuff with him now wearing the gear and all that. Al Khadra continues by saying Jan Valeri's substitution during the match against Sweden sparked a controversy within the delegation. Valeri did not appreciate being taken off the pitch, remained motionless for several moments before leaving the pitch, visibly expressing his incomprehension. Wabi Khazri, the assistant coach, had to intervene to convince him to make way for Mohamed Belhaj Mahmoud. That's from Radio Mosaic FM. And Hervé Renard was interviewed by Tunisian radio this morning, or by RMC Sport, and out of France, and he confirmed having accepted without hesitation. Apparently, according to other published reports out of Tunisian media, yesterday, Lamouchi arrived at the national team training headquarters in a private car, despite the decision to dismiss him, coinciding with the arrival of Monzer El Kabir, who was dispatched by the Tunisian Federation to oversee the training session. According to the same sources and Rast Tunisia, Lamouchi prevented Monzer El Kabir from leading training, asserting that he remains a national team coach in a scene that reflected a state of confusion, division, and chaos within the national team and the federation. So, several members of the Federal Bureau of the Fed have demanded the convening of the emergency meeting, and that was what, after the match, led to the dismissal. So that is where we are with Kadri, and we'll keep an eye on Tunisia, which already has its own soap opera now attached. So that's yesterday, and that's today. I'm trying to see if there's anything in the clip farm that I might have missed, and I think we're good there. All right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. That is brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And it's easy. Everything short of the midnight match is on Big FOX. France, Senegal, Iraq, Norway, Argentina, Algeria, 3, 6, and 9. Austria, Jordan is on FS1. And it looks like FS2 is simulcasting as well. USL Championship tonight on the Plus. Tulsa, Monterey Bay. That one's at 8:30 from Tulsa. Fox O&E has your quadruple header, as does Peacock with your Telemundo version. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It helps out us. It helps out you. It helps out them. You get all the BNs, which means you get kept up to date on everything going on in AFCON, CAF Champions League, qualifiers. U17 had their competition a couple weeks ago. So all of that, you get at Fanatis. I mean, you get it to all the BNs in Fanatis, Libertadores, Sudamericana. You get in season, you get leagues in Europe. You get Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru, TVV out of Venezuela. But if you've got cable, you can get TVV. CDO2 out of Chile. You get, like I said, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. A lot of the A and B divisions in nations in South America. Tigo Sports, CATV, Copa Argentina on TIC, their coverage of Argentina as they get ready for the match tonight is probably off the wall, and that's probably where I'm going to go when we're off the air, is to see what their coverage is in Kansas City as Argentina gets ready to take on the Desert Foxes of Lawrence. That's got to be a T-shirt. The Desert Foxes of Lawrence. Les Fennecs de Lawrence. Got to be the Desert Foxes of Lawrence. So we'll keep an eye on all that stuff. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo with everyone and everything outside of the Hervé Renard hiring, which has officially happened. So now you have Livramento out of the World Cup, according to news from Tom Hamilton of the Four Letter. Tino Livramento out of the competition. Trevor Chalobah has been called up as his replacement. Livramento picked up the calf injury in training on Sunday, likely to be out for 6 weeks. Out of the World Cup, Livramento out, Chalobah in. Statement from the FA. Arrangements now being made for the Chelsea defender to make the journey to the team's base camp in Kansas City. The rest of the squad's going to head to Dallas for the opening fixture against Croatia on Wednesday. Livramento was big to Thomas Tuchel's plans, played in the second half of England's 1-0 win over New Zealand and Florida, unused sub in the warm-up against Costa Rica. So Tino Livramento out, Trevor Chalobah in. You've got also, I'm trying to see if we have our early go-round of all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, or are we just going to, yeah, here we go. Okay, so we do have it. Sandro Tonali is a part of it. Spurs have entered the race to sign Sandro Tonali, according to Fabrizio Romano, wanted by Roberto De Zerbi. Competition for Manchester City, Arsenal, Juve, and AC Milan. Tonali's future is increasingly uncertain. Contract to expire in 2 years. Might be the last chance that that Newcastle might get something around £80 million. Chelsea tracking Crystal Palace center back Maxence Lacroix, according to the four-letter paper. Lacroix is playing for France. France has a contract through 29, reportedly attracting interest from Arsenal and Real Madrid, reportedly ready to consider his options. Chelsea held talks with Atalanta right back Marco Palestra 2 weeks ago, according to Nicola Schira. However, the Serie A club are holding out for the bids of €50 million this summer. United considering a move to sign West Ham's Crescencio Somerville, according to The Athletic. Currently at the World Cup for the Netherlands, transfer expected to cost in the region of £50 million. Real Madrid lodged an inquiry for Dortmund midfielder Felix Nemeka, according to Sky Germany. Jose Mourinho likes him. 25-year-old under contract at Dortmund until 2030. Does have €70 million release clause that becomes active from next summer. Bayern Munich set to sign PSV forward Ismail Saibati in a transfer offer worth in excess of €50 million, according to TalkSport, which probably means Crook and Jacobs. Moroccan international is undergoing his Bayern medical in the U.S. now, apparently. 15 league goals in 27 matches in the Eredivisie. Can play several different positions, likely featuring as the understudy to Harry Kane. Also, Newcastle set to step up their pursuit of Osasuna winger Victor Munoz, according to the four-letter paper. Release clause of €40 million, which has alerted the likes of Roma and Bayer Leverkusen. Want to add several young players to their ranks, with Wolves' exciting 18-year-old Mateus Mane also on their radar. Women's side, Lyon have announced the signing of Caroline Weir, formerly of Real Madrid, in advanced talks with her, and confirmed the departure on a free after 4 years in her previous locale. PSG, according to Fabrice Hawkins, 20-year-old midfielder Seni Mayulu set to snub interest from Bayern and Chelsea and ink a new deal with PSG. Nicolas Schira, United midfielder Manuel Ugarte has been offered to AC Milan, where he could rejoin Ruben Amorim. Fabrizio Romano, Bayern Munich, close to completing a €55 million deal for Eintracht Frankfurt's Nathaniel Brown, who's already agreed to personal terms. West Ham, according to Football Insider, keeping tabs on Watford and Australia winger Nestori Irankunda. Team talk, Newcastle have informed Nick Pope he's free to leave this summer. Leeds have ruled themselves out of a move. Speaking of Leeds, according to Football Insider, preparing a bid to sign 22-year-old Sporting center back Ousmane Diomande, €75 million release clause. Matteo Moretto. Celta de Vigo have established contact with reps from Girona's Azzedine Ounahi. Sky Germany, Werder Bremen have reached an agreement in principle to sign for Fortuna Düsseldorf forward attacker Cedric Itten. And Fabrizio Romano has Udinese activating the clause in Nicolo Zaniolo's loan deal from Galatasaray, making it permanent. So let's see what Ben Jacobs has on his table. And if there is anything hanging out with our buddy Ben while he is tracking the U.S. So he is out on the West Coast, getting a lot of stuff done. Mentioned Victor Munoz and the optimism of the deal. Magpies' top target to replace Anthony Gordon. Growing interest in Lee Han Byom from clubs in England and Germany. Midtjylland willing to sell the 23-year-old South Korean defender this summer. 49 appearances for club and country this year. We mentioned Tim Payne joining Club Olimpia out of Paraguay. Right back joining him from Wellington Phoenix. Club Olimpia is excited, as are the fans. We mentioned Crescencio Somerville. Mentioned Sandro Tonali. Mentioned Trevor Chalobah. Manchester United want to sell Marcus Rashford after Barcelona chose not to trigger the €30 million option to buy. The clause expired back on Monday. Set to return to preseason training with Manchester United after the World Cup. Barcelona's is open to another season-long loan, but Manchester United currently against this option. United have informed Barca on their position. There's a £40 million release clause for all clubs except for Liverpool and Manchester City. Sale for less than this number is not discounted. Real Madrid confirming Tony Rudiger is extended until the summer of 27. They have the artwork with him sitting in a rather ornate chair with framed photos / paintings of him with the trophies that he has been a part of since he's been there at Real Madrid. So Rudiger extended. Once again, we mentioned Tonali, we mentioned Hervé Renard. And I think we're cutting Pierre Sage joining Crystal Palace on a 3-year deal, leading Lens to being second in Ligue 1, winning Coupe de France. So Sage now at Crystal Palace, and that should get everything set up. Now, let me get you the broadcast plans for tonight, for Atlanta soccer tonight. And let's see, checking my mail as we are here. Now, tonight, so we're going to start off 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app and the 92.9 The Game YouTube channel. It is 6 to 7:40. 6 to 7:40. 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. Maddie's going to be there with Jason. They're going to break down the afternoon's France-Senegal match, set the table for Argentina's title defense. Kicks off tonight against Algeria. It is baseball, I believe, that is on 92.9 The Game after 7:40. So 6 to 7:40. Atlanta soccer tonight. 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app, 92.9 The Game YouTube channel. Along those lines, before we get out of here, one more thing to discuss and divulge. It is why Atlanta Soccer Tonight is must-listen-to stuff. Maddie and Jason, the 343 from last night's AST, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, and the Off the Woodwork podcast section at 929thegame.com.
I'm going to start with number one. Cabo Verde, they committed just one foul in the 90 minutes against Spain. That's impressive just in and of itself. But to do that when you're defending as much as they did, and to have to make some of the tackles that they did, so impressive. I'm not the one who's usually super excited about the defending, but they did a great, great job with it. Number two, I think Vosinha and just the whole story about him, and we shared a clip from the Mixed Zone on Soccer Down Here. Go check that out, where he was talking about his grandparents and talking about his mom. I was doing a little bit of research. He couldn't get his mom in, unfortunately, because of kind of the late start on the visa process and also the cost of the visa process. Hopefully that could potentially change, especially if they make a knockout round game. But his story is just fascinating that he's still going at 40 years old. His dad wanted to name him after Jorge Valdano, the legendary Argentine striker. That couldn't get done for some reason with just the naming authorities or whatever in Cabo Verde. So he went with a Brazilian player, Josimar. His real first name is Josimar. And Josimar scored two of the best goals you'll ever see at a World Cup in the 1986 World Cup for Brazil, a fullback who attacked like crazy. So this guy gets named after an attacking fullback, and he ends up playing goalkeeper and has one of the most historic days. I'm going to leave number three for you, Maddie. Just the fact that all this today, the entire world was talking about something that happened in a stadium that we get to call home on a regular basis.
I will say it was really cool. I think especially for it to happen at Atlanta Stadium, a place where we go all the time for Atlanta United, for so many other big matches, and getting the chance to have that moment. I think, sitting in the press box, getting to just take it in. I think I took a big deep breath before the game actually kicked off, because it was just like a wow. I know for me personally, it was a big moment. I mean, it's something I never thought would happen, and here we are. It's one where I don't think I'm going to get emotional about it yet. I think it'll hit me later on down the line, but not going to lie to you, I don't know. Today was really cool. I think especially having that moment and that historic moment between Spain and Cabo Verde today, that was really special. That was fun.
We'll talk more about how cool it was over on YouTube. And yeah, I think it's going to hit me when all this is done after that semifinal. It's been a wild ride, and we've got 7 more games coming in Atlanta.
Atlanta soccer tonight, 6 to 7, 40, 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app. And then posted after on the 92.9, on the Off the Woodwork podcast section of the 92.9 the game webpage. So that is your listening pleasure tonight, Atlanta soccer tonight. 92.9 the game, the Odyssey app, 6 to 7:40, I believe, before baseball with the University of Georgia in Omaha having to win and get out of the losers bracket after their loss to Oklahoma last night. So they've got some work to do there. It's been a fun show. It was great to catch Bart before he hopefully dodges all the raindrops and goes to Seattle, where he's apparently going to be dodging all the raindrops. Then it's great to catch up with Lauren Koontz from the YMCA, Metro Atlanta Y, President and CEO. I'm glad that we were able to catch up. If you haven't seen the elements of the documentary, they're on the YouTube channel. And it was fun for me to go back and see Roy Bloomfield of the Atlanta Chiefs, to see Bob Hope, who has been in media relations and public relations here forever, to piece together the history of the Metro Atlanta Y and how it's integral to what we're seeing here and the growth of the game in the Atlanta area today. Very, very cool stuff there as well. So I think tomorrow is a normal show. I think it is. I think it's normal tomorrow. I think Thursday is another day that's going to be funky, and I think Sunday is going to be funky. I think Thursday is 8 to 9:30, and then Sunday AM is 8 to 9:30, or 8 until. And then we get it all sorted out. So I think we're normal tomorrow, normal on Friday, but we're going to go long on Friday because of the guests we can't have on Thursday. We're going to see if we can slide them a day. We'll see what kind of trouble we can get into there. So that is another round of SDH AM for everybody here, for Maddie, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, for Sophia, whose pictures have been amazing, for Vanessa, and for everybody here at SDH. I'm just John. Thanks for coming by. Thanks to KCD. Thanks to and thanks to Bart Keeler. And once again, you can't thank the folks at the Y enough for everything that they do on a daily basis. But like I said, it was great to catch up with them and find out what's going on at the Y here in Atlanta. And when you get to catch up with folks like Lauren Koontz, President and CEO of YMCA Atlanta, it's always great to find out what's going on up there. And I'm glad we were able to catch up with her about the documentary, the Y and the YMCA in Atlanta, and their past, their present, and their future. So it's always been fun to catch up with them. We got to do that today as well. So busy show today. Got games today. We'll talk about them tomorrow right here on SDH AM. So since it is the end of the show, I get to do this, back at it again in a little less than 22 hours. And maybe I'll finally get this right at some point here as we run a show close. Mucha Plata, y'all played safe. Glad to see everybody made it in. We'll see it again tomorrow. Be good, everybody.